do we even dream big enough? Like, I think to some level, and maybe we have to position ourselves, and I'm challenging myself right now, to think and dream bigger than we've ever imagined, to allow ourselves the space, right? Like you provided for your team to say, what if, what could be? It really challenged me because at some level, our dream should scare us a little bit, right? If you're dreaming, you already know how to achieve it and you can see it and there's a plan in place and you've done this before, maybe it's time we start dreaming bigger.
Yes, sir.
Maybe, okay? And again, I'm challenging myself because I don't want to look back at my life and say, well, I could have, I should have, I wish I did. No. We have today. We got each other. And I just believe we can make other people's dreams come to life, and you're doing it. Well, good day once again to all. My name is Glenn Langang. I serve as the Vice President of Franchise Development in a booming industry with a tremendous company named Touching Hearts at Home. And we continue our series on conversations of the heart. And do I have a guest for us today? Yeah, you're right.
Yes, sir.
I got to tell you, okay, first of all, I got to say this guy's name and then I'm going to just share something really quick, okay? And then we're just going to get into it because this guy is a gift. His name is Ryan Fensler, okay? He's located in Colorado. I will thank you, Ryan, for joining me today at Conversation.
My pleasure, Glenn. It's always great to have time with you, sir.
Yes, likewise. I got to tell you, just for the folks at home, I met Ryan in person 2 weeks ago. I believe we had some meetings, and I had the opportunity to drive him back to the airport. And I think we all can relate to this when we have connections that we meet folks and, you're thinking about those connections and the conversation days later. That was the kind of impact that Ryan had on me. And so I had to get him on the podcast. I'm so fired up. Just keep getting better week after week. But Ryan, let's start with this because I'm talking too much and I want to hear from you. Tell me, what was it like for you in the very beginning? Tell me, growing up, what were your goals? What were your aspirations? What was important to you? How did you weave this winding road to wind up at Touching Hearts?
Woo! Okay. I'll try to make this a little concise, but give you something that's real. I would say my path started when I was really young. I worked at a machine shop, Glenn. I don't think you knew that about me, but I'm just going to share with you from the heart this morning. And I started off working in a machine shop and then later on worked in restaurants. I actually thought my path was going to be with Marriott hotels. And so 10 years of my life was hospitality industry. And much love for Marriott. That's where I met my wife. Probably what people want to hear is how I got into working with seniors. I ended up switching from, the hotel industry. And, I thought my path to serve was to work with kids. And so I got my bachelor's in social work, Glenn, and I was at UNLV, University of Nevada, Las Vegas, got my bachelor's in social work, went on to be a licensed social worker. And I thought my path was to work with kids. And so I had done my internship with Child Protective Services, went on to get a job at the state of Nevada. And then they gave me all the teenage boys that were, running away, lighting fires, doing all this stuff. And about after a year, Glenn, I was fried, man. I was burnt. I was toast. And I was about a week away from putting in my notice. I was just going to go back to the Marriott and pick up some shifts. And I didn't have kids at the time, Glenn. So I kind of, you kind of make a little more different decisions. Back then, I just had little apartments and not much bills. But I was just going to go back and pick up some shifts at the Marriott. No big deal. And so I was getting about ready to quit. And I had this woman named Bertil come up to me in the apartment. And she said, man, I know you're about ready to quit, but I want to help you. And I said, what are you talking about? And she goes, you remind me of my son. I want to help you. And she goes, you should go talk to my friend Patricia. She runs aging services. And I didn't even know about this department. I decided to call Bertil. I decided to call her friend Patricia. And I went and I interviewed, and Patricia thankfully gave me the job with aging services. My job was to go out and meet older adults and to interview them for in-home services. And then the state of Nevada would pay for that. And Glenn, it was awesome, man. It was like, Bertil was just like an angel, talking about kind of like a needle in the haystack. There were like 50, 60 social workers in this department. And, I'd gone out to lunch with her maybe once or twice over the course of that year. So you're talking about somebody I barely knew. And she just came into my life and blessed me. And I still talk to her, Glenn. And,
I believe it.
and anyway, that really started me on this path. And it was awesome, man. I got to go out and interview these older adults and then be their ongoing case manager. And then from that path, I went on and you want me to just keep rolling with this, Glenn?
Brother,
and,
you keep. Yeah, I'm like all in. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna keep on this path then. And so once I had that mojo, I did that for about a year and a half, 2 years, and then I moved here to Denver to get married to my wife Anna. And then same thing happened, man. I was blessed to get a job early on with Home Instead Senior Care, and that's how I kept working with older adults. But I kind of went from the from the public sector, which was a state job, and then I went into private, and really got to learn more. And then 10 years ago, man, it was crazy. I got to join the team with Touching Hearts at Home, got to fly out and meet Renee and the whole family, back in Minneapolis. And Glenn, I just celebrated like a month ago, 10 years, my 10th anniversary. And it's crazy, man. So as we're doing this podcast, I'm like reflecting over the past 10 years and getting sentimental, but definitely grateful. First and foremost, grateful. It's been an awesome family to be a part of with Touching Hearts at Home. And so, man, I know I was jumping around a little bit, but that was all from the heart, baby. Yeah.
Brother, that's all we want is just authenticity. And
I can give you that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know you can. And I love that about you. You mentioned, and if I'm saying her name wrong, forgive me, correct me, Bertil?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
B as in boy, Ertil. And Bertil's she's still in Las Vegas. And I reach out to her, and I'm always like, hey, anything I can do for you, friend, I got your back. And, one of these days, maybe she'll let me, who knows, buy her new car or something, man. I don't know. Sometimes in life, Glenn, you look back and you're like, oh my God, where would my life be without this person? And there's many people, that I've just been grateful that they have come into my life and helped me. And many, many people. Yeah.
I obviously love leadership, and I love connecting with leaders. And one of the things that was abundantly clear to me is you honor other folks, like clearly Bertil, and understanding that was a watershed moment in your life. And the fact that you still talk to her this day and recognize, man, that was incredible what she was able to do, right? To set a trajectory. Yes, but ultimately, there is no Bertil, right? Or you guys don't connect without, if I'm hearing you correctly, without your original heart to say, hey, I want to serve. And I don't know what it looks like yet. I'm going to go educate myself, and I want to serve the youth. And then somewhere along the line, you meet Bertil, and it turns into this incredible opening of a path for you.
Yes, sir. I mean, it's awesome when I think about it. And what you just mentioned has actually been my life the last 20 years. And what we've just talked about has been a huge part of my life. I got, but you're exactly right. She opened the door, and I got introduced to this world of aging services and started learning more about in-home care. And there's a lot of people that are like, I'm here in the Denver metro area, and there's a lot of people that are doing in-home services, but it's paid for by Medicaid,
Mm.
and different waivers. And then there's also companies like ours with Touching Hearts at Home, where the clients might be paying more privately or from long-term care insurance or from the VA. But the bottom line is our worlds are very similar, and we get to go out and meet these awesome people and be a part of their life and an extension of their family. And matter of fact, my wife helps a woman that's 102 in Denver. We get to help some amazing people, Glenn. And you talked when you and I were having that awesome drive to the airport, and I was trying to make sure I was going to the right airport. But you were the best. Five stars on the driving, by the way, and getting me there. But
I'm going to tell my wife that because she tells me I'm a bad driver. But please,
no, tell her Ryan said 5 stars. And but you and I were talking about purpose, and I think you're exactly right. There's definitely been some times in my life where I've been asking bigger questions of like, hey, what's my path? How can I continue to serve? And it's always come back to this is the path right now, and working with older adults. And you brought up something else interesting, Glenn, where it isn't just home care that we're doing. The Touching Hearts at Home family has allowed me to do much more. I think there's a giant poster behind me, What's Your Dream? A couple years ago, after my father Gary passed away, I started looking at this program, the Dream Manager program, and it's like a coaching program where people can talk about big dreams, big goals that they're working on. They're actually able to have a monthly coach that they work on, and it's a constant reminder for me, Glenn, that it's so much more than just about us. It's like, hey, what can we do for our team, and how can we succeed through others? And I think we're just scratching the surface right now, Glenn. I'd love to talk to you more about that, because this platform with Touching Hearts at Home, and I know your phone continues to ring off the hook with people who want to join our family, and you guys are continuing to bring on people that are doing this for the right reason. And the Touching Hearts at Home path is off the charts. In addition to that, it's okay, how can we continue to give back, to our team in the office and our caregivers out in the field, and help them, like I said, succeed through others. That's what gets me pumped up, man.
Yeah, I do know that, and I did notice the post of What's Your Dream? And so many times as leaders, we focus on our vision, right? And there's certainly a time and a place for that. I'm not suggesting that that's not important, but there also is a principle of, I will not bless your dream and you bless that which pertains to another. And so I want to dig deeper here, because leaders may be listening to this. I know you talked about Dreamweaver a little bit, but can you share maybe a story from a client or one of your employees that, you really are intentional about asking your folks what their dream is, because we talked about it, but maybe just share a practical example, if you don't mind, of what that looks like.
There's a bunch of examples that jump out to mind. I think one that I could share, easily is we had someone on the team that had identified their, man, this is so cool. I'm thinking about all these, different things that have happened, but okay, two quick ones, Glenn. One, and so anyway, the client's moving, and we get a phone call, and the client wants to give her car to the caregiver. I say, excuse me? And she goes, I'm moving. I love Kylie. I wanna just give my car to her. And her son ended up calling and giving his blessing too. So, everything, there were no issues, no family members had any beef, it was all in the up and up. And so I just thought that was awesome, man. And that had been one of that individual's goals was to have a newer vehicle. So it all just worked out as a blessing. And then the other one that I'm super pumped about, or actually have time to share with you, is, quite often with this Dream Manager program, how it all starts is with a what they call like a dream storm. And that's where you have everybody together. I'm going to take you back. I got to ride in your car. I'm going to have you jump into my DeLorean right now, and we're going to jump back in time. About 3 years ago, I had just I went through Floyd Consulting that puts on this Dream Manager program. And I went and I got certified as a Dream Manager so I could coach the material. They have some great stuff, Glenn, that I'll talk to you more about. But I got everybody together, our whole office team in this room, and we had this dream storm where you go through and it's all organized, and it was cool, man. I would say it was like a half party. But you always start with like big stuff. Like, for example, they have about 10 or 12 Big Daddy categories. And one of the ones that you almost always start with, because it's easy to get the conversations popping, and it's almost like Tony Robbins pops into this room and he's like, "What's your dream?" And it's but what you start with is like adventure. The category. I don't have my materials in front of me, but it's essentially like adventure slash trips, travel. So you throw that up on the board, and whatever you have, a marker board. I got this giant board over here that I write on, and we just start to go around. And what you do first is kind of give like just a minute or two for reflection. So you're like, hey, if you could travel anywhere, you're getting people to think of big. You and I talked about abundance mindset. If you could go anywhere, Glenn, where would you want to go? Taking a couple minutes, everybody reflects. And then the cool thing is you open it up and you're like, okay, Michelle, I'm going to have you go first. What's one thing you got? And then we go around. Depending on the size of the group, you can share. But then what you do is, the cool thing is, Glenn, all of a sudden somebody's like, oh man, I always dreamed of like seeing the crazy, things in Rome or over in Greece. And then somebody else is like, yeah, I want to do that. And they're writing that down and they add that to their list. And the list can be as, long as you want it to be. And so anyway, that's how the list starts. And I'm going to tie this in now. We're going through the process. And somebody in the group says, man, I got this burning desire to get my first house. And this is a person that I had known for quite a while. And man, ever since then, like, I swear to God, like every day I'm driving into work. And like you said, we all have our KPIs and our business goals and this and that. But every day I'm driving in and I'm like, oh my God, man, how can I help that person get their first house? And I'm like so hungry to help them. And it took about a year and a half, buddy, but we were able to have some things in place. And I can tell you, I swear, like this person now is in their first house. And that things like that, Glenn, that's what gets me pumped up, buddy. And I want to keep doing more of that.
I mean, to make such an incredible impact on, well, let's go back. I mean, because it's so funny. I went to Chick-fil-A today. Okay, maybe I shouldn't have, but I needed some breakfast. Okay, and they're always nice there and so forth. But I don't know. I knew that I was looking at my schedule and I knew we had this today, and so I was just thinking, and this thought popped in my head, and I didn't know what we were going to talk about today, as you know. I said I wanted to have an organic conversation. I'm not sprying. I'm not sending you any questions. Let's just ride it, and
yes.
And I think that's what the people want. But I had this thought that, man, do we even dream big enough? Like, I think to some level, and maybe we have to position ourselves, and I'm challenging myself right now, to think and dream bigger than we've ever imagined, to allow ourselves the space, right? Like you provided for your team to say, what if, what could be? It really challenged me because at some level, our dream should scare us a little bit, right? Like,
yes, sir.
If you're dreaming, you already know how to achieve it and you can see it and there's a plan in place and you've done this before, maybe it's time we start dreaming bigger.
Yes, sir.
Maybe. Okay. And again, I'm challenging myself because I don't want to look back at my life and say, well, I could have, I should have, I wish I did. No. We have today. We got each other. And I just believe we can make other people's dreams come to life, and you're doing it. But how? Is it just I don't know how this is going to work, but I'm going to, like you said, think about it every day.
Yeah. I mean, you're bringing up the question that I'm going through again right now, where it's how, it's one thing where I'm able to connect with everybody in the office. And we do have time every month where I'm sitting down. I'm like, hey, like if you're here, Glenn, I'd be like, Glenn, We got the month of June coming up. Like, what's got you pumped up? What's got you pumped up to be? I know you're an awesome dad, but sometimes I play around with different terminology. I'd be like, Glenn, what's got you pumped up to be dad 2.0, next month of June? And you're like, well, Ryan, I've been thinking about this event, or this concert. And I'm like, man, let's do it. Let's, get those concert tickets, make it happen. Like you said today, matter of fact, please forgive me. I forget the author. You're going to love this. You just talked about how important today is. His quote, I think, is trademarked, but the acronym is TIME, TIME, and it stands for today is my everything. And you're exactly right. It's what am I going to do today to help the team? Or what am I going to do, next week? And where I'm going with this right now is I'm getting ready to fire up the next round of this for the Dream Manager program. And not everybody does it, Glenn. It is a monthly commitment that you have to be ready for. But I tell you, even if I'm able to change one life, next month, I'm on the right path. And one of my coaches, Lee Brower, would always talk about progress over perfection. That has helped me immensely because if right now we're blessed to have about 75 caregivers on the team. If I was a perfectionist, I was like, oh, we got to have all 75. Not everybody's ready for this. It happens at the right time.
That's such a great point because I know I struggle with this, right? And I want to be transparent about it. As a leader like yourself, we have expectations, right? And what I found, and that was so timely, what you just said about you've got 75 caregivers, but you recognize, hey, 20 of these caregivers, they may be at a stage where they're just getting to know you or getting to know your organization. And maybe they just need a little bit more time to understand your heart.
Yes.
And yeah,
that's exactly it. And it's the other big thing that comes to mind, Glenn. It's almost like it reminds me a little bit of right now. My wife and I, we work really hard on the backyard and the garden, and it reminds me the same thing with the relationships with everybody on Touching Hearts at Home team. It's you got to constantly, tend to the garden, right? You got to constantly give it love. Give it water. You got to keep the weeds out. It needs constant attention. And so I think for me, my big mission, especially as we're kind of wrapping up the second quarter, and I'm getting fired up for the third quarter. By the way, I love July 4th too, so it's always good for me to think of that as the kickoff.
Yep.
I am big time asking myself, Glenn, how can I double down? How can I double down and give more? How can I double down and be a better leader? And you're exactly right. You have to stay hungry. It isn't just something you implement January 1st and then you kick up your feet and be like, okay, it takes constant work. And I still got a lot of gas in the tank, Glenn, so I'm up for it. But you definitely brought up key points like, Ryan, what are you going to do? You got third quarter coming up, the rest of the year. And the thing that I keep thinking about during our conversation is success through others. It's, it's one thing for me to hit, a certain goal, certain owners have certain revenue goals or, certain metrics, and that's great. That keeps the business healthy. But then for me, the next step is, okay, how do I go from here and go out here into the stratosphere and be like, okay, how can we help somebody who's trying to finish their degree? How can we help somebody who's trying to, pay off their credit cards? How can we help somebody with their first house? How can we help somebody with whatever it is that is, burning desire in their life? And so that's my mission.
Yeah. Well, you're living it. Okay. You're living it. And I have to bring this up because I just see this, I'm listening to these stories. Okay. And Ryan, what's interesting to me is going back to your UNLV days when you met Bertil. Okay.
Yes, sir.
You were serving and then an opportunity came up. Going to your caregiver who served that, young lady or older lady, I guess more accurately, who's moving to Chicago, and that caregiver was serving, and out of a heart of serving, things happened.
Yes. And that's so awesome. That's one of my favorite things in life. I call them, or sometimes what I think of it Glenn, is unexpected blessings, and you never know. And there's different terms. Everybody can pick their own term for it. But this woman, the caregiver didn't ask for it. The client did it as a blessing. And Bertil came up to me and blessed me and introduced me to a close friend of hers. And I still had to go obviously, it wasn't a shoe-in. I had to go. And thankfully, what they needed was a licensed social work, which I had. And they also need somebody with strong Spanish skills, which I had, and invested time in. I had been studying Spanish for 10 years, and I actually did a study abroad program where I lived with a family in Costa Rica. And I thought I was going to use those Spanish skills to work with kids. But it ended up being that cherry on top that helped me get the job with aging services. I don't think they would have hired me if I didn't have the Spanish speaking skills, Glenn. So you're talking about just some amazing things that have happened. And like you said, you're serving, and then all of a sudden this blessing happens. And it's awesome, man.
Yeah. Ryan, I mean, there's honestly, I just want to continue this truthfully. Like I really do, because, I want to use this platform. Maybe there are other people, other owners at Touching Hearts that say, because I've met so many of us, right? And so many of our great owners. Jeez. I mean, like these are just, it's hard for me to articulate this, but the heart and the mission and the quality of people and the care that they provide, not only to their staff, but the people they're serving, it's just beautiful. I mean, I don't know. It is truly beautiful. I have to ask though, you mentioned your wife, Anna. How many kids? I know if you want to share that, because I know you're a father, and just want to give you that platform if you'd like.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for asking. And I think this is awesome on the podcast for potentially other people that are, looking into joining the Touching Hearts at Home family, because this platform has allowed me to be the husband that I want to be and the father that I want to be. And then after that is everything else. But I put those roles first and foremost. And I didn't know that. I didn't know I could do that until I actually had a mentor tell me, like, he told me, like, I actually don't focus on my business first. I focus on my relationship with my wife first, and then my role as a dad, and then my business. And I was like, I like that. And the Touching Hearts at Home family, Glenn, has allowed me to do that. There are times that are busier than others, but there's also, I've been able to go to my son's performances. He loves to perform. So he was just in a musical called 13, and he crushed it. He was like up there, doing all these lines up on stage in front of like 100 people. I'm like, oh my God, how do you memorize all that stuff? Like, it just amazes me. And so it's allowed me to be the dad that I want to be, Glenn. My son is 12. My daughter just turned 16. So that's, and she's doing amazing things. That the thing that this won't surprise you, Glenn, but I love quotes and just kind of tying in things that I've learned. The things I'm most proud of with them, the person that they're becoming. That you can do anything. You could be doctor, lawyer, teacher, business owner, you name it. But what will impress me the most is, if you're a person of gratitude, it's the person that you are. And that's what we're trying to plant with them is, to be a person of gratitude. Kindness is contagious. Thinking of others. The list goes on, but the bottom line is the person that you become is most important. And I truly believe that success is something that you attract. That quote obviously goes to Jim Rohn, and Tony Robbins later took it, but Jim Rohn and a lot of those mentors. Once I heard that, I started running with it. Success is a becoming process. In order to have more, you must become more. And once I heard that, I was like, okay, how can I be more grateful? How can I give more? how can I keep learning? And so hopefully the kids soak up some of that. That's what really fills my cup, Glenn, is my family, my wife, Anna, and my boy, buddy boy, and my daughter, Joella. They pump me up every day, buddy.
That's awesome. Well, in closing, I know you're a ferocious reader. Okay. Tell us a book. Okay.
I got it right here.
Oh, what do we got?
I got one that'll pump you up right now. Right here, Unreasonable Hospitality. So this bad boy right here, I had a feeling I might need that this morning. Lots of great examples in there. We actually are trying to take hospitality and infuse it with home care. And so lots of great ideas in that book. And also a shout out to the people, everybody that started the company Zappos. We started to look into some of their things with culture. And one of the questions I love that might help tie this up, Glenn, is with Zappos, I was reading a lot of their materials. What their team came up with on one of their top 10 things to kind of go with every day is, who are you going to wow today? And so, Glenn, right now as we're wrapping up, I'm thinking about you, buddy. I'm thinking about, how can I wow Glenn today? And I got a little surprise coming your way. And actually, I might have to send it to Texas. You're not in the Minneapolis area that often, are you?
I actually will be there. I will be there Monday and Tuesday of this week because we have some meetings.
Okay, cool. That gives me a little ammunition. But yeah, man, I just love that. Who can you wow today?
Yeah.
And sometimes, Glenn, it might be if I'm ordering a sandwich over here, I might go a little bit heavy on the tip. I got this cool little thing. I got some cool ideas coming your way, buddy. This has been awesome today, man. I'm so grateful.
Likewise. Man, this is another episode of Conversations from the Heart. And that's what we want to do. We just want to tell our stories and share insights and be who we are, authentic, passionate about the people that we get to serve and those who serve others. And so, Ryan Fensler, thank you. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your commitment to growth. Thank you for the way that you invest in folks. Thank you for the father that you are, the example that you are, the husband. You already know this. You got a lifelong friend here. We're like two peas in a pod. All right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because we're just high energy.
Yeah.
And so, but I thank you, and I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I think you'll see. I'm going to talk to Ryan off camera, but I want to figure out a way that we can help get the word out so he can help others dream, and we can kind of, a ripple effect, if you will, right? A ripple. Okay? A ripple. Yes. I love that. But Glenn Langang signing off, Conversations from the Heart. Who are you going to wow today?